Looks like we had a request. We got Veggie. There he is in the chat. He wanted to see how he got the crap kicked out of him by Siamjik. Actually, I don't think he said who won. I prefer it that way. I didn't pay attention to who won. All I know is this was a game from the Winter Clash, and it is an HRE on HRE matchup. Which I know what you're all thinking. You're like, boo, why are we looking at that? But you know what? Veggie has guaranteed me it is definitely going to be interesting, and it's not just going to be a night smash, and there'll be plenty of ways I can flame him. He also said I can flame him as much as I want. Even if he starts crying, I shouldn't stop. Let's get into it anyway as we move across to the boring yellow on yellow. I'm kidding, it won't be boring, because this one is going to be between Veggie and Siamjik. Veggie, for those that are unfamiliar, you should get familiar with this lad, all right? He came from a washed-out game, an irrelevant game. One of the worst games. He's going to be in chat right now, annoyed at me. He came from one of those inferior Age of Empires. He's not from AoE 2. He's not, you know, he didn't just start in AoE 4. He was playing in the backwaters, right? You know, backwaters are Age of Mythology, Age of Empires 3, Age of Empires Online. I know some people are going to curse me for saying AOM is backwaters, but in fairness, it was a good game in its days. Never really caught on ever since, right? Like, I love Rise of Nations. I'm not going to be delusional and say that it's an amazing competitive game, though. But no, he's come from those backwaters. He's been learning fast. 72nd in the world. Although he doesn't play on that account. I know he's smurfing on 10 different accounts. He's scared of losing. He doesn't want to come down to my elo rating. But no, he's a star. He's a star in the Rising. All right, he just needs his shot. And I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more players get their shot. Hopefully, AoE 4 is going to get a much harder push from Microsoft this year, and we can see it grow more and more. So even if you aren't like the Vipers of this scene, you'll be able to actually make a living full time. Because I don't think Veggie is full time. With Age of Empires. But his opponent, Siamjik, is also a very talented player. I've seen this guy time and time again. I'm really impressed with him. I love what I was seeing out of him in the 3v3 tournament. And overall, although he doesn't inhabit the top 30 in the world. For example, right now he's sitting 192nd in the world. He's still a very capable player. I think this guy shows a lot of promise. I think it's actually impressive to me just how many talented Taiwanese players there are in the Age of Empires sphere. We really got treated to that when you think back to the Lidicor's 3v3 tournament. Like, I remember saying at that final, it was going to be very one-sided one way or the other. I believe it did end up being a very one-sided affair. Spoiler alert for anyone who didn't go and watch that. But the thing with the squad that he was a part of is they saw the game in a very different light. It was a Taiwanese team of, I believe it was Siamjik, Demon Sheep, and Sorakuma. And they saw the whole 3v3 meta in a very different way. And that's what I'm always trying to keep an eye out for, is players that kind of see what the norm is, and they just take a hammer to it. Because those people, by the way, no matter what scene you talk about, no matter where you look, they're the future champions. They're the people who come out of nowhere and win tournaments that no one expected. We've seen this in Dota 2 with OG, just like completely catching everyone off guard. I think back to like CSGO. I always use Stewie 2K as the pristine example of this. No one expected what that kid done. When you look across like what Call of Duty's had in recent years, like the new blood coming through, and in their debut seasons just smashing with the FaZe Clan. These kind of avenues really open up when people start looking at the game a different way. That's why I think like Salami has also been having a lot of success, because everyone's now looking at Delhi and they're looking at the ways that he's kind of been cracking the code. And it's always fun when we get new players coming into these games from, like I said, the backwater games, right? Instead of just the AoE 2 pros and the StarCraft pros, we get these people who have this rich experience in a completely different RTS or even a completely different genre, and they provide an entirely different perspective on how this game should be played. And I think that's what's most exciting to me when it comes to Age of Empires. Just getting an opportunity to kind of highlight those people. So opening-wise, one thing I didn't nerd out on just yet, but I'm just going to unzip my trousers and spew nerd knowledge. Okay, I'm not. Stop doing that. Okay, I'm a bit of a fetish for this. Let's just say it like this. What I'm going to refer to is the fact of what Veggie's doing here is kind of inefficient. Really inefficient. I don't want to be mean because in the chat. Really inefficient, Veggie. Come on. So min-maxing is really important. What you should be doing right now with these sheep is they should either be on the east side or the west side. And the whole point is you want to min-max the early inspiration buffing rate of the prelate. So one of the big kind of fetishist things with me when it comes to HRE, and I've nerded on it so many times, I don't know if you players seem to call on, is that when you talk about like early game efficiency, it's a very big deal for the HRE because their early game economy is 40% more efficient than anyone else's. They can actually get a bigger lead than most civs can if fully leveraged correctly. And one of the ways you have to leverage that correctly is you want to make sure your prelate, especially in this dark age, where you can't just say, I have Arc and Chapel buff everywhere. You want to min-max how many people are getting buffed up by him. And the way you do that is by shortening the paths he has to walk between. So, for example, if Veggie had his sheep on the right side here, just stacked here, then the Prelate would have a short distance to run back and forth between the gold and the food line. It looks like he built a second Prelate to buff solely the gold line, which is fine. But then the arguments can still be made that these sheep should all be on the west side, so they're closer to the wood line, and he can just quickly more or less turn around and buff. These are small differences. They will add up a high-level play, and I think they will become very relevant as the game continues to evolve and basically people continue to perfect the openings, right? If you think about how StarCraft functions, it feels like if you need to nail perfectly your first 10 minutes, and that's when you can really start to play the game. And I think that the longer Age of Empires 4 is out, the more it's going to become true of that. It's why I like that Siamjik kind of done this to an extent. You can see, actually, I say kind of, he done it to a fair extent. He did start off here, but then he shifted the sheep to the right side to try and min-max. In the end, I think for him, it became more about the Ark and Chapel placement. But ultimately, if he'd done this at the very beginning, he would be able to utilize that initial Prelate to buff 1 or 2 additional villages than he was. I think it's so tidbitty, and it seems like I'm being very nitpicky, but I think these are the details that a lot of these high-level players are thinking about as time goes on. But as chat's now pointing out, yes, the Ark and Chapel's now built, it matters less. I guess like now I should get out like the poking and prodding and saying, you should do this better sort of thing, because I'm not here to like, try and flame players. I'm just here to like enlighten if I can with my small brain every once in a while. Let's focus on what the Ark and Chapels are doing in this game, because it feels like the value has not been fully gained by Veggie, and this is due to the generation. It's kind of frustrating, actually, and one of the annoying details I talk about when you see HRE is that the Ark and Chapel choice is terrible for him, because he has wood and food, or you can choose gold and food. When you look on the other side, Siamjik actually got the jackpot here. He's got gold, food, and wood all in the same area, and it's very easy to tap into that. And even if, like, even if he shifted this across a little bit further, he could have better options, even if he was just food wood, I think, than what Veggie has. Veggie does at least have fantastic room for fallback farmlands later on, if he wants to play into that. We'll see if that is an option he chooses to partake in, though. Looks like for now he is actually going to get the outpost down, is starting to push out the horsemen. This is becoming a pretty standardized opening. It looks like both of them are actually going towards the stables, in fact. A little bit surprising both of them did. I thought one of them might try and drop an archery range, but I think the understanding is that when you're doing this type of matchup, when you're talking about the HRE and HRE, it's fairly acceptable that you're going to need to go stables. I think against other civs, like you're playing against, say, I'm trying to think who comes to mind most obviously, Mongols, and you see them drop spears already, Lombos, especially from England. Then HRE actually have a fantastic timing around feudal with like trip archery range drop. I would still love to see archers in the mixer as this goes on. It depends how long they want to hang around in feudal. I feel like in an HRE matchup, a lot of the time it just becomes this race though, and you can see on the numbers right now. They're investing in this small military force, but it's not aggressive to take base, right? The only reason you see these initial military units is for what they're going to do in a minute's time, which is to protect these relics. As it looks like Veggie is ready for the tech up. In fact, he is miles ahead. Siamjik is so far behind right now because he went into the Pro Scouts. Pro Scouts that, yeah, you'll get your value over time, but I feel like cracking that crucial castle age time in the HRE matchup is so important here. And it might put him noticeably behind because now Veggie's going to be in a situation where he could easily gather up the first 1-2 relics by the time Siamjik is even thinking about gathering one. And I think my other big concern is look at Siamjik's vision. This is way too blind. This is actually one of the downsides of these changeable Pro Scouts. It's not just that it takes you ages to get all this crap back to you. It's the fact that now, by the way, AFK, little sky, there we go. Yeah, call him out, we'll get moving. Now, the other detail that I think is really frustrating in this game for Siamjik is because he's investing into Pro Scouts and because that's the dedication for his scouts right now, he's not using them for their name. Right? He's not actually getting eyeballs on what his opponent is doing. Siamjik will move in now, but he's going to get the bad news too late. And it looks like Veggie is already prepped and ready to pick up one, probably 2 of these relics at this rate. And in terms of horseman count, I do think Veggie is in good stead to counterattack anything Siamjik tries here. There it is. Tech up complete. Siamjik straight across onto that relic, understanding what he needs to do here. Pokes and prods in. Veggie needs to throw out the wall. Lol. He's going to lose the prelate. That would be costly as well. Oh, he's not noticing. Is he under attack by wolves? Oh my god, the wolf! Oh, that's so annoying. That is actually so annoying. I don't think Veggie even noticed. Because the Wolf was pinging the attack. He was moving troops up, but he wasn't aware. He didn't pop the wall, which meant that he couldn't buy time for his own horsemen to arrive to counterattack there. He will still get the relic in the end, but this is frustrating nonetheless, folks. Remember that that's 100 gold that has just been burnt. And also, think about how long it now takes for you to get this relic back, right? If you didn't already have a prelate prep, it means you need to push another one out. That's 20 seconds. That's also one extra village you missed out on. Then there's an extra 10 seconds to move across to even that location to pick up the relic. Then an extra 10 seconds to return it. You're almost missing out on, like, well, you're missing out on like 240 gold, something like that. It's really gruesome. Okay, so this is actually a cool thing about having the person in the chat. Apparently he was away, just wanted near the tower. I can see where you come from. I thought maybe you'd be able to actually wait and get the horseman in position. I think this is actually cool because you can kind of get the player's perspective as we talk about it, which is really interesting. Yeah, I would have expected maybe a wall play and then the horseman move in to try and poke and prod. I wouldn't have been surprised if you got distracted by the wolves. This is one of the annoying things. When Gaia starts attacking you, it just gets too much of your attention. Oh, no, 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 no. Veggie, please. Please see this. No. No. How long is he? Oh my god. Okay, guys. So basically, Veggie, I think he selected both of the prelates as he was dropping one off. So as he was dropping one off, the other one was picking it up. So right now, the HRE play, maybe Veggie was like, this is too strong. It's not fair that I have one extra relic. That's extra 300 gold. I'm going to make this as fair and even as possible. We will both have 600 gold passive per minute. As both of them okay, there we go. He finally realized it. He's like, no, that's too much for a handicap. He's going to give himself the extra 300 gold after he realizes what he's done. Oh, that's one of those moments you've just got to laugh. You just got to laugh at that type of moment, right? Like, if you don't laugh, what can you do? But it looks like he won't miss out on too much. I was worried that was going to be sitting there for like 5 minutes. I've seen those type of games. It's not pretty. Looks like he will get the Sacred Site, though. And no decap, just a chase coming out. As it looks like Siamjik is going to hop into the Knights. But you can see Veggie starting to ramp up as well. Veggie currently at 12 military. Siamjik was slightly at 13. But some of those are scouts, remember, as he did go into the pro scouts. So don't be deceived. Like right now, Veggie is ahead aggressively. And he's going to try to push that aggression. Oh, into the choke point. Has Siamjik got... Yeah, he's got way out. That is tight. That is very tight. Whew. Could you imagine if you didn't have auto pathfinding, if it was just directional, and you could make these mistakes all the time? I think a lot of RTS players don't want to think about a world like that. That'd be a horrible world of existence. That'd be like playing a game where I'd done the pathfinding. As encoded it. So it looks like they're going to peel back towards their base. And a raid in. Ooh, Veggie. Quick on the garrison. Almost kind of revealed himself, kind of exposed himself. But luckily for him, Siamjik doesn't have enough knights to justify a dive in there. It would cost him dearly. He'll back up for the moment. But looking at the military production rates, it looks like double stable racks. On the other side, this is still only one stable. Veggie is playing a very greedy game in comparison to Siamjik. And yeah, Siamjik is ramping it up now. So he's bringing even more spears into the equation. I feel like Veggie needs to prep himself appropriately. An archery range would be pristine here, right? Just get some archers out, get a few crossbowmen. All of a sudden, your composition just outweighs everything Siamjik is doing. Of course, we have God Vision, and Veggie doesn't. Neither does Siamjik. And because Veggie doesn't have God Vision, look what sneaks in. Or God Vision, rather. Spearmint upgrade is going to be decent to just snipe some of these out. Build on the back. They're trying to punish the Palace of Swabi being constructed here. Veggie's going to back off for the moment. This is the full greed factor, and Siamjik is looking to whip him for it. But not enough troops. Has to back away. Needs to get more in the front. Needs it fast as well. And Siamjik, in the meantime, efficiency is decent. He's keeping himself stacked well on the base. Veggie has an awkward situation. He has to protect the west side where all of his eco is located, but now he has to worry about this north side where he's got the Palace of Swabi constructing. But it looks like he's going to scare his opponent off for the moment. Veggie needs to be careful about sacrificing this army, though. Unless he gets good trades, it's going to leave him a little bit vulnerable the moment the tech up ticks. But it looks like the trades are decent. The sprint was really making the difference, and I'm surprised Siamjik took that fight, and he's continued to be assassinated by the outpost as a result. So, Veggie up first. Siamjik nowhere near ready. He went heavy as well. Look at this. The amount of spearmen coming out. But you need more. I don't think this is enough for Siamjik. The tech up is going to tick, and I feel like Veggie is positioned in a way that he shouldn't be like maximum punished, right? I think you need some siege weapons on the front if you're Siamjik, if you really want to just push your opponent to the limit. Nice riding through. Spotting out the district being built up. Upgrades for the Spearmen. And this is my concern. I think Veggie could have probably went for this a little bit quicker. He should have had a rack being built before the Pass of Swabia, so you could at least prep the upgrades. Because this is one of the big weaknesses of the HRE Imperial Age rush. All your tech is behind, and now you need to fix it on every front. Knights are going to try to trade out. These outposts have definitely made their bang for buck, though. The amount of Sprint shots coming out, assassinating these Knights, has definitely curbed the aggression of Siamjik, and Siamjik now moving in with Spearmen, maybe a little bit too late. Spears are going to snipe out the remaining of the Knights. Villagers being attacked, but who cares? They're cheap. They're cheap. Yep, turns out that when you have a Pass of Swabia, everyone's just humping in the back, so you are building 1,000,001 villagers a minute, it feels like. 12 food costs every 5 seconds. It means that even with all these snipe outs, Veggie is about to surpass the eco count of Siamjik. And Siamjik still not going for Imperial. He understands that he can't anymore. It feels too flimsy. It feels too risky, right? If you go back for an Imperial Age tech up now, Veggie's going to be ahead of you. He's going to have all the tech up. He's going to build a standing army, and he's going to rush you back. You need to hit a decisive blow, and you need to do it now. But it looks like it's going to be a fail. Siamjik's going to have to back away. I don't think you can hang around like this consistently. These vet spearmen are going to be kited out. The outpost is going to snipe them down one by one, and it feels like you're just throwing resources into the void. Another spearman coming out. Holds back the counter spears. Keeps the Knights at bay, and it means that you're not accessing that economy. That economy that can now get more risky. Look what Veggie's doing. He understands that he's just going to have surplus eco, so he can get more aggressive and risky with where he sends them. He doesn't have to worry as much. I mean, I say that. What's happened with the villager count? Oh, I see. I'm surprised by this. So Veggie isn't using his primary TC to build villages as well. He's just trying to take the bang for buck, right? I think it's better to, in this situation, maybe get the additional villages out to try and build that surplus economy. But I guess if his concern is he's still got these troops running rampant through his eco base, it feels a little bit risky to spend 50 food on something that might just get insta-killed. Whereas 12 food is like, shrug of shoulders. If they return one load of their resource, they've paid for themselves, right? If anything, I'd love to see Veggie drop 1 or 2 more outposts, actually. Siamjik has shown no intent to build siege weapons. And it means that you can fully defend yourself and build up an army in the back without having to do these sacrificial trades that you're going through right now. That being said, with the pressure of just being relieved a little bit, all of a sudden Veggie is finally ahead on the eco count, and he's starting to build up a standing army. He won't go straight into the man-at-arms just yet. He needs to get the surplus eco to do so. But now that his farms are back and operational, not only will he be able to afford the man-at-arms, but there it is, underway with the elite tech upgrade. And this is where things get scary for Siamjik. And Siamjik has gone pretty early in the Langsneck. Remember, he's dedicated this. He can't really tech up anymore. So he needs to find a den. Push in. Trying to target out the outpost. They have to address the troops first, though. A few spearmen in the mix of Langsneck getting involved. The damage coming out. Need to back up. Langsneck are not addressed here. And it means the damage is high out into that man-at-arms infantry line. Now they're going to be chased in. And once again, Veggie's base is going to be exposed. And all because he didn't get Langsneck himself. He didn't get the upgrades yet. You can see they're now going through the two-handed and the heavy maces. He wanted to dedicate wholly to Knights, but I don't think this works. Or not Knights, man-at-arms, rather. Because although he wants to address the Knights, he now has no answer to the Langsneck, and they're going to run rampant through these fights. If anything, you need some archer ranges. You need something that can assassinate these units. Even maybe a siege workshop would be good enough, because remember, the Langsneck do not have much health, only 80. As it stands right now, even elite man-at-arms feel flimsy against this. Luckily, the Springers are going to start to clean them up as Siamjik continues to just Zerg line through. Siamjik, I feel like, if anything, maybe start building more infrastructure towards the forward of the base. You've got surplus eco. It feels like what he's trying to do is naturally cruise through to an Imperial timing, right? But my concern is, even if you naturally cruise through, are you doing enough damage? I mean, I say that. Veggie did get... Yeah, he got... Wow, he lost more than I expected. Wow, he's sinking fast, actually. This siege workshop feels way too late. I thought he was okay. It didn't look like the troops sniped that many, but I'm guessing they snuck in on the wood line, and then they did actually kind of pick off a few additional on the food. It feels like Veggie is just wholly under pressure and doesn't have enough outposts down. So every time he feels like he's good in this game, he's a little bit comfortable, all of a sudden he gets pushed back once more. I mean, I got to give credit to Siamjik. He's making this work really well. And now he's got his tech up. I'm surprised by the impact the Langsneck were having, but I think it once again comes back to the fact that Veggie didn't diversify, right? It's only man-at-arms. Nothing else this entire time. And this is the risk of rushing Imperial that we were talking about. you get to these costly researchers, they're annoying enough alone, but the fact that you also have to get to them, right? You have to go through the process of upgrading to even get to this stage has crippled him heavily. And Siamjik, well, although it takes him longer to arrive up in the Imperial, you got to say he's more healthy now. And you can see it, Veggie is about to break even on the eco count again, but Siamjik, he's established a lot more control. He's got a standing army that's a little bit more impressive. He's already got a lot more of the upgrades in place. And it looks like he's neglecting man-at-arms. It's just full Langsneck now. And this is where Veggie can turn it. I think Siamjik has made a little bit of a mistake here. I like the idea of man-at-arms still in the mix, but now it is literally just cleavage. But they have barely any health. If they ever get spotted, 2 Mangonels could just decimate this army. And they're pricey, remember. These Langsneck are not cheap. You can see it right there. 60 food and 100 gold each. Ay, ay, ay. Veggie using the stealth of this forest to sneak in. Siamjik doesn't know this is coming. He's busy moving in. Oh my, the damage. The damage. Moves away with most of the villagers. Loses a few of them. Needs to be careful. That spread damage is big. Morn being sniped out. But you can see the outpost is just doing the business. And in the meantime, he moves in to strike. Veggie goes in. He reveals his hand. A lot of man-at-arms here. Pass the swipe in the front. They're going to try and zerg it right now, but the Mangonels aren't addressing it. Veggie, he's distracted in his own base. He's being assaulted on 2 fronts, and it means he's not paying attention. The Mangonels are going to be burnt up. Siamjik just makes him disappear in the blink of an eye, but he's dedicated onto the Pass of Swabia. Burning down quickly here. Repair's going to come out, and you really wish you had a few Langsneck here now. Or at least kept the Mangonel alive. Or at least maybe prioritize fire on the villagers, because that would have been such a big hit if he got them. But instead now, he doesn't hit the villagers. But the Pass of Swabia is going to be abandoned. There's enough elite man-at-arms here that Siamjik doesn't know what to do about it. And yes, he has elite knights, but he hasn't elited up the other units yet. The Langsneck are still normie Langsneck. The man-at-arms are still normie man-at-arms. And these elite man-at-arms are going to make you feel abnormal. Or more importantly, irrelevant. And that is such a big hit. Remember, because Veggie still has his Pass of Swabia, he can replace the lost villagers. Siamjik does not have that same luxury. And he's being outmatched. There's not enough Langsneck here. Has to back away. And that means you're going to go deeper. Veggie, so much armor on these. 5 missile resistance means they do not care about the TC. That doesn't make a difference at all. They'll chase through the Langsneck, getting clubbed down 1 by 1. They're not that effective in 1 or 2s. They need to have 4 or 5 cleaving away at that line. These Knights being traded with effectively as well. Remember, double the cost, and it doesn't feel like they've got double the damage anymore. More of the man-at-arms in the front, and Siamjik looking lost in this game all of a sudden. What a way for Veggie to be bouncing back in this. The way he held this base. The reluctance from Siamjik to maybe just fall back and quickly tech up, feeling like he had enough value. And I thought he had enough value too. Sniping out 10, 15 villages at a time. Veggie just treating his people like dirt, but it actually being the way to victory. Humanitarian rights are overrated, my friends. This is how you win games. You body it. You fake it until you make it. And Siamjik, the only thing he's going to make is a big plummet on the probability charts for winning in this one, as he's going to sink into despair. It feels like he can do nothing in this game. More man-at-arms in. So many as well. 18 already back on the front. And this desperation play to try and rebuild the Pass of Swabia, that's the last-ditch effort. As soon as Siamjik can't do that anymore, it looks like it's all but over. What a turnaround. Veggie with a quick rush up on the tech up. With the overwhelming pressure of Siamjik, he does not bend, he does not break, and instead he turns around and he breaks Siamjik in return. What a game. Oh, what a beauty. You know, several times, like I was saying back and forth, Siamjik, I don't know if this is good enough. Veggie, big dent. Every time I felt like I could see the way, right? Every time I saw him assassinate 10, 15 villages, I was like, Siamjik might actually have this. This looks like it's actually a decent trade. But at the end of the day, I think you have to break that down mathematically to understand what Veggie is doing there. 12 food. We're talking 180 food for 15 villages, right? 5 seconds to produce each one. 180 food for 15 villages. And let's say you snipe out 2 knights. Your opponent has spent more resources already. I feel like the only way this play works for Siamjik is if he's able to actually double up the count of his opponent on the eco. That never happened, right? He had like a 10, 15 point lead. It was never bigger. I think if you ever manage to get Veggie down to like 25, 30 workers, it gets dicey fast. But I think the really big difference here is that Veggie, where it was looking a bit lacking, where I think he almost broke, and I think he understood this as well and knows where I'm coming from, was his food eco. His food eco was burnt to cinders. Every time he manned those farms, there was another raid coming in. It felt like, honestly, the Vikings had come for tribute and you didn't have enough gold for them this weekend. So they just decided to pillage and raid your farms. And every time that happens, the thing that's keeping Veggie in this game really is that very important relic he remembered to put back in that cathedral. Having that huge influx of passive income curbed that problem. It pushed him through. It meant that he didn't have to worry about ever collecting gold. He could dedicate every new villager to just spewing out of that Palace of Swabia into getting back on a farm and returning at least its cost to the economy. And that is good enough to get him through. Really cool play with the outposts early on as well. I really like the kind of stationing with the upgrades of Springwheels. I think a lot of players forget the Springwheel upgrade, especially that early on in the game, and that made a very big difference. Overall, I think like there's some things that Veggie's maybe looking back in this game that he felt like he could have maybe tweaked better. I think definitely 1 or 2 additional outposts would have been fantastic, especially at the back of your base where you have all your farmlands. I don't think he necessarily expected Siamjik to go that deep. When I think about the way Siamjik played this, I think I'm totally on board with what he's processing, right? He wants that slow kind of cruise up towards Imperial, rather. But I think where it was a little bit lackluster for me is that from Siamjik, I think he could have easily afforded a siege workshop early on and got a Mangonel or Treb out to be able to actually breach Veggie's base. If he has a Mangonel, well, not a Mangonel, I'd say just go for a Treb, right? If you have a Treb there that's assassinating those outposts, I think Veggie's game becomes very unplayable. I actually think I actually wish the outposts had a KDA on them, right? So I can see how many units they've killed, because those outposts are the MVP for Veggie. If they ever get eliminated, I think this game becomes a little bit irksome and almost unplayable for Veggie. So I think Siamjik, while I was on board with the idea of slowly cruising into Imperial, I wasn't a big fan of his lack of siege weapons while hanging around a castle. I think that, in conjunction with the credit we gave Veggie, is exactly what cost him this game and gave Veggie the win. That was a fun one. Thank you for the recommendation. I appreciate that one, Veggie. By the way, guys, if you want to make recommendations, you have to be watching this live, so make sure you head across to the Twitch side if you're watching this on YouTube later, and vice versa, every way around, as we post every day. And you can help influence the action. I'm definitely looking for people at all levels as well. I'm not just looking at high levels anymore. I want to really start a low elo series. So, you know, if you are, in your eyes, gutter tier, or, you know, you're the low elo pleb, you might be the person I'm looking for. So come on through.